Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Sahar Farooq. On behalf of AFAQ online learning platform, I welcome all of you to this video lesson for New Sun series Science Grade 5 Term 1 Unit 2. This video lesson is beneficial for students, teachers as well as parents. But before starting this, why AFAQ is different and unique? As you know, planning is very important before doing any task. That's why AFAQ has planned the whole academic year for teachers as well as students. AFAQ provided academic calendars, suggested timetable and DLPs to cover the content of the book in an academic year. AFAQ divided academic year into 3 periodic terms, and each periodic term is further divided into 2 periodic units. So the academic year is divided into 6 periodic units. Dear students, in our previous video, you have learned the concepts of Unit 2. Now today we will learn the concepts of Unit 3. So let's start our Unit 3. Our Unit 3 falls in Term 1, Periodic Unit 2 and Week 3 to Week 5. 2 days of Week 3 and 3 days of Week 5. So our Unit 3 is Flowers and Seeds, and we are going to cover 6 SLOs in this unit. Week 3 of Unit 2 Term 1, we are going to cover 1 SLO in this week. Moving towards the day 4 of Week 3 Unit 2 Term 1, and we are going to cover 1 SLO in this DLP. Before starting our lesson, I would like to ask you a few questions. Do all plants have flowers? Obviously no, all plants do not have flowers. Do all flowers have fragrance? No. All flowers does not have fragrance. Can you name some flowers? Yes, rose, jasmine, lotus are examples of some flowers. Now tell me, which is your favorite flower? Give its answer to your teacher. Flowers. So students, what are flowers? Plants are present all around us. Some of them have flowers, some of them do not have flowers. Flowers make the world beautiful. They attract insects, birds, and even humans. They are source of food and medicine for animals as well as humans. And they also help plants in their reproduction. Now we will see what a flower is. A flower has 4 main parts, that is sepals, petals, stamen and pistil. If you look at this picture of a flower, you can see this part is sepal, these are petals, this is stamen and this is pistil. Now we will learn these parts one by one. Students, let's learn about the different parts of the flower. The first one is sepals. Sepals are green in color, and what they do? They protect flowers in bud form. As you can see here, this green part is sepal. The other part is petals. Petals are multicolored. They are found in variety of colors. And what petals do? Petals attract insects, birds and other animals and help flowers in pollination. The next part is stamen. Stamen is male part of the flower. Stamen consists of filament and anther. And what is filament? Filament is a long stalk. Here you can see this long stalk is filament and this portion is called anther. Anther holds pollen grain and pollen grain are male cell of the flower. The other part is pistil. Pistil is female part of the flower. Pistil consists of stigma, style and ovary. This is pistil. This portion of pistil is called stigma. It is opening of pistil. And this long stalk is called style and this swollen portion of pistil is called ovary. Ovary contains ovules and ovule are the female reproductive cell of the flower. Okay students, it's activity time. You have to open the book page number 50. Here 2 activities are given. Read their statements. The first one is Arrange the following in correct sequence as a plant grows. Here some words are given about the plants. You have to arrange them in correct sequence as plant grows. And in the next activity, you have to write down the function of the given parts of a flower. Here parts of flowers are given. You have to write their function in respective boxes. So solve these activities and show it to your teachers. Okay, turn to the next page 51. An activity is given there. Write the functions of the given parts of the flower. Can you name this part of the flower? This is stamen. And what is this? This is pistil. You have to write the functions of each part of stamen and pistil. So solve this activity and show it to your teachers. Now we are moving towards the week 4 of Unit 2 Term 1, and we are going to cover 4 SLOs in this week. Day 1, week 4 Term 2 Unit 1, we are going to cover 1 SLO in this DLP. So, why do insects visit flowers? Yes, insects visit flower to get food. Do they play any role in reproduction? Do insects play any role in the reproduction of plants? Yes, they do. But how? Let's learn about it. Pollination. What is pollination? Pollination is the transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of the flower. But how pollen grain transfers from anthers to the stigma of the flower? Pollen grains are transferred by insects. So insects play a role in reproduction. Pollen grain can be transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or different flowers. Pollination is of 2 types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. What is self-pollination? When the pollen grain from anthers are transferred to the stigma of the same flower or the different flower of the same plant, then the pollination is called self-pollination. Here, as you can see in this picture, the pollen grain from the stamen of the same flowers are transferred to the stigma of same flower of the same plant, then the pollination is called self-pollination. And what is cross-pollination? When the pollen grain from the stamen of one flower are transferred to the stigma of other flower of other plant, then the pollination is called cross-pollination. When pollination occurs between 2 flowers of 2 different plants, then the pollination is called cross-pollination. Now, how this pollination occurs? There are different means of pollination like insects, wind and water. How insects transfer pollen grain from anthers to the stigma? When they visit flower. But why do insects visit flower? They visit flowers to get nectar, which is their food. So when they visit a flower, the pollen grains stick to their bodies. And when they visit another flower, the pollen grains from their body are transferred to the stigma of that flower. In this way, insects act as the pollinator. Another way of transfer of pollen grain from anthers to the stigma is through wind or water. Some plants like cotton, the pollen grains are transferred through wind. And in hydrilla, the pollen grains are transferred through water. Now it's activity time. An activity is given at the page number 53 of your textbooks. So open this page and look at the activity. How these agents help in pollination. Here different pollinators are given like bees, butterflies, wind, water, rabbit, and you have to write in the boxes how they help in pollination. So write the answer in the activity and show it to your teachers. Now we are moving towards the day 2 of week 4 unit 2 term 1, and we are going to cover 1 SLO in this DLP. Before starting, I would like to ask you one question. Do all plants grow from seeds? Obviously the answer is no, not all plants grow from seeds. What is reproduction? Reproduction is the process through which new plants are formed. The parent plants produce new plants. but reproduction is of two types, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Students, now we will learn what is reproduction. Reproduction is a process by which plants produce new plants. Reproduction occurs in two ways, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Now we will learn about them one by one. Asexual reproduction. Students, now we will learn what is asexual reproduction. It is a type of reproduction in which plants produce new plants without seeds. Vegetative parts such as leaves, stem or roots are used for growing new plants. Bulbs, tubers, layering, cutting are different methods of asexual reproduction. Now we will learn about these methods one by one. The first one is bulb. Bulbs are underground stems which grow into new plants. They have short stem with thick fleshy leaves. Onions, garlic, tulip are some plants that grow from bulbs. Here you can see a bulb of garlic and how it grows from a bulb. The next one is tubers. Tubers are thick stems that are found underground. The most common tuber is potato. I hope you have seen potatoes. Potatoes have sprouts on them. These sprouts are called eyes. When a potato slice is cut with that eye and buried in the soil, it grows into a new plant. As you can see in this picture, this is a sprout or eye on a potato. When we put it in the soil, it will grow into a new plant. Another method of asexual reproduction is layering. And what is layering? Layering is a process in which a soft branch from a plant bent towards ground and buried in the soil. This branch with the time develops roots. This is called layering. As you can see in this picture, this is a plant and one branch of this plant bent and grows under the soil and develop roots and new plants grow from this branch. Raspberries, lemon, jasmines are some plants that grow through layering. Another method for asexual reproduction is cutting. It is an artificial method of producing new plants. In this method, a part of plant is cut and then buried into the soil, which grows into a new plant. Rose and dahlia are some plants that grow from cutting method. As you can see here in this picture, a part of the plant that can be a stem or a leaf is cut from the plant and then buried into the soil, which grows into a new plant. Now students, a worksheet is given with this DLP. You have to fill the information about the plant reproduction. You have to write the information about these points in the boxes and show it to your teachers. Now we are moving towards the day 3 of week 4, unit 2 and term 1, and we are going to cover one SLO in this DLP. Students, you have learned about asexual reproduction. Now we will learn about sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, new plants are produced from seeds. Reproductive parts of plants are involved in it. And what are reproductive parts? Stamen and pistils are the reproductive parts of the plant. In flowers, male reproductive cells are called pollen grain and female reproductive cells are called ovules. The process of joining male and female reproductive cell is called fertilization. Students, now we will see how reproduction occurs. In plants, fertilization involves the following steps. The first step is pollen grains fall on the stigma of a flower. When pollen grain falls on the stigma of the flower, a pollen tube grows down to the ovary and reaches the ovule. Pollen grains from the flower falls on the stigma of the flower, and when pollen grain falls on stigma, a pollen tube grows downwards and reaches the ovary. Here, the pollen tube helps to carry the pollen grains to the ovule. The pollen tube carries these pollen grains to the ovules. Thus, the process of fertilization takes place when male and female gametes fuse to produce zygote. And here, in ovary, male and female cells fuse together and form zygote. After fertilization, ovary becomes fruit and ovules become seed. And what happens during this process? Before fertilization, petals are prominent. As you can see here, when fertilization doesn't take place, the petals are prominent in the plant. But after fertilization, a flower begins to drop off petals and a fruit starts to grow. Flowers, you can see in this picture, flowers begins to drop off and fruits begins to develop. The ovary wall is swollen and changes to fruit, and seed develops inside the fruit from ovules. And in this picture you can see the ovary changes into fruit and ovules changes into seeds. So students, an activity is given at page 56 of your book. Read the statement of the activity. Name at least 3 fruit which have 1, 2 or many seeds in them. Here 3 columns are given. You have to write the names of fruit with 1 seed here, with 2 seeds here and with many seeds here. Solve this activity and show it to your teachers. Now we are moving towards the day 4 of week 4 unit 2 and term 1. We are going to cover one SLO in this DLP. Students, you have learned about that some plants grow from seeds. Now we will see what is a seed. A seed consists of 3 main parts: seed coat, endosperm and embryo. What is a seed coat? The outer covering of the seed is called seed coat. It is also called testa. And what does it do? It provides protection for the tiny plant that is growing in it. And it also prevents seed from drying up. And what is endosperm and what does it do? Endosperm provides food for the growing embryo which is present inside the seed. And what is embryo? An embryo is a small plant which grows into an adult plant in suitable conditions. It has 1 or 2 cotyledons. Cotyledons are leaf-like structures. If it has 1 cotyledon, then the seed is called monocot seed or monocotyledon seed. And when it has 2 cotyledons, it is called a dicot seed or dicotyledonous seed. Here you can see in this picture, this outer covering of the seed is called seed coat or testa. This is embryo and this is endosperm that stores food for this embryo. It's activity time. Students, open your book, page number 57. An activity is given on this page. You have to label the given seed diagram. Now label the diagram and show it to your teachers. Now we are moving towards the day 5 of week 4 unit 2 and term 1. We are going to cover one SLO in this DLP. Students, now we will learn the different types of seeds. Seeds are of 2 types, monocot seeds and dicot seeds. Monocot seeds have 1 cotyledon and dicot seeds have 2 cotyledons. As you can see here, a wheat seed which is a monocot, it has 1 cotyledon, and a dicot seed, it has 2 cotyledons. Now students, we will see the structure of a chickpea seed. The seed of a chickpea has thin outer covering to reduce evaporation. 2 thick and closely packed cotyledons are present in it and they store food for seedling. A chickpea seed takes 7 to 30 days to germinate. Here you can see the structure of a chickpea seed. An outer covering of chickpea seed is called testa or seed coat and it reduces the evaporation. And 2 fleshy and thick cotyledons are present in it. They store food for seedling. Now we will see the germination of a chickpea seed. Let's learn how the chickpea seed germinate. During germination, seed coat breaks and roots come out of the radicle. Root grows downward continuously and shoot grows upward above the soil. As you know, root grows from radicle and shoot grows from plumule. But in chickpea seed, the cotyledon also come out of the soil. As you can see here, the germination of a dicot seed. It's activity time. Students, open your book, page number 58. An activity is given. Read the statement. Take 3 pots and bean seeds. You have to take 3 pots and then the bean seeds. Keep 1 pot empty and fill the remaining 2 pots with water. You have to keep 1 pot empty and fill other 2 pots with water. Put the beans in every pot and now put the bean seeds in every pot. Place the bean seeds in water-filled pots in such a way that in one pot a seed is completely immersed in water and in the other part it is a half immersed. Observe and note germination in each seed after a few days. Discuss what happens to each seed and note your findings. You have to grow bean seeds in 3 pots with water, and then you have to note your observations and discuss what happens with your classmates. Now we are moving towards the week 5 of unit 2 term 1, and we are going to cover 2 SLOs in this week. Moving towards the day 1 of week 5 unit 2 term 1, we are going to cover 1 SLO in this DLP. Students, you have learned about the structure and germination of a chickpea seed, which was a dicotyledon seed. Now we will learn about the structure and germination of a maize seed, which is a monocotyledon seed. A maize seed is a grain in which fruit wall and seed coat fuses to form a single layer. Endosperm is large, which supplies food to the seedling, and maize grain usually germinate in 3 days. As you can see here in this picture, this is the structure of a maize seed. Endosperm is present here, this is seed coat, and this is cotyledon. In this maize seed, endosperm is present, which was absent in chickpea seed. Now the germination of the maize seed. During germination, radicle and plumule get energy from endosperm. Root grows downward from radicle, shoot grows upward from the plumule. But in germination of maize seed, cotyledon does not come out of the soil. It remains buried in the soil. And you can see the germination of a monocot seed in this picture. Now we will see what are the differences between a chickpea seed and a maize seed. The most important difference is of cotyledon. As you can see, chickpea seed has 2 cotyledons and maize seed has 1 cotyledon. Another difference is of endosperm. Endosperm is absent in chickpea seed, but it is present in maize seed. And the third difference is embryo is present in center of chickpea seed and embryo is present on one side of maize seed. It's activity time. Students, open your book page number 59. A diagram is given. You have to label the steps of germination of the seed. Solve this activity and show it to your teachers. Another activity is given on page number 60. Read the statement of the activity. Draw given structural features of monocot and dicot plants. Here some structural features are given. You have to draw these features of monocot and dicot plants and show it to your teachers. Now we are moving towards the day 2 of week 5 unit 2 term 1, and we are going to cover 1 SLO in this DLP. Students, germination is a process by which a seed grows into a new plant or seedling. But certain conditions are necessary for the germination of plants. A plant, if does not have these conditions, it will not grow into the seedling. Water, temperature and air are required for the germination of the plants. A sufficient and continuous supply of water is required, because otherwise the seed will dry and it will not grow into the new plant. Different seeds grow in different ranges of temperature. So, favorable temperature is required for the seed germination. Similarly, respiration occurs in viable seeds. So, soil in which seeds are placed must be well aerated and loosened. If we eliminate any of these factors, the seed will not grow into new plant. It's activity time. Open your book, page number 61. The 2 activities are given on this page. Read the statements. The first one is, visit the school garden and collect leaves of dicot and monocot plants to glue and label in the sketchbook. You have to collect the leaves of dicot as well as monocot plants and paste them in your sketchbook. Also draw the internal structure of a monocot and a dicot seed in the sketchbook, and you have to draw the structure of monocot and dicot seed in your sketchbook. In next activity, you have to sow a bean seed in a glass jar and note down the different stages of its development in your sketchbook. Grow a seed in a glass jar, and then when it will grow, you have to note the stages of its development and then draw them in your sketchbook and show these drawings to your teacher. Now we are moving towards the day 3 of week 5, unit 2 and term 1, and we are going to solve the exercises in this DLP. Students, a work it out is given on page 61 of your textbook. So open the page 61. Here a picture of flower is given. You have to label the different parts of the flower. So label the parts of the flower and show it to your teachers. Now turn to page number 62 and 63. Some exercises are given on these pages. So read the statements and solve these exercises. The first one is choose the correct options. The outer covering of a seed is called the plumule, seed coat, endosperm and radicle. So what is the correct option? Yes, the seed coat is the correct option. Solve the other ones as well. Question B is write true or false. The first statement is dicot store food in endosperms. Is it true or false? Yes, it is false statement. So you have to write false here in this box. Solve the other statements as well. In question C, compare the structure of a chickpea seed with a maize seed. Here you have to compare the structure and write your answers in it. In question D and E, some questions are given. You have to write the answers of these questions and show it to your teachers. Students, turn to page number 64. A project is given there and you have to study the monocot and dicot seeds. The materials and the procedure to perform this project are given on this page. Read the materials and procedures carefully and do this project and show it to your teachers. Students, I hope you have understood all the concepts I have taught you in this video. So you must learn these concepts because there is an assessment in week 6. Dear students, revision LPs are given at the end of week 5. So you must learn the concepts of unit 2 and 3 and solve those revision worksheets to be ready for the assessments. For now, I will say goodbye and will meet you in the next video. Allah Hafiz.